This is a video that I thought was really interesting, and I saw a comment today that made me think about this video. So let's watch it.
Here in the UK, it costs a lot to live. It costs at least maybe £500 a month for rent of an apartment, minimum, and
Yeah.
that's not going to be a nice apartment.
No.
Food costs are very, very high. Fuel costs are exceptionally high.
That's the thing about America right now as well, is that America is suffering this issue where everything is becoming more and more expensive, and everything is also suffering a decrease in quality. I can't tell you how many times over the past 2 years of my life I've bought a food product, bread or um, uh, bread or water or chips or ice cream or anything, and you get that food product and it tastes, you can tell that it's not moldy, but something's wrong. You should not eat this thing. You need to throw this in the trash and not take another bite of it. It's not that it tastes icky. It's gone off. There's something wrong with it. Someone did something wrong across this thing. And that's that way with everything nowadays. The roads are filled with potholes, and when they patch them, they do the worst job patching them. The infrastructure is falling apart, and it costs more and more to live here. Meanwhile, there are countries like Thailand and Mexico and and Romania and places that are unbelievably cheap to live comparatively, and they're the same if not higher quality of a country.
A lot of costs are high. And because of that, a lot of people in the UK work round the clock. A lot of people in the UK are burnt out, miserable,
Yeah.
because everything's about money. Because if people want to have a decent life for them and their kids,
Ooh.
it has to be.
This is so real. Everything is about money now. The kids who are out here playing a video game are doing it in a way as if they're going to become an elite esport athlete playing this video game. Everybody is just trying to turn everything into a side hustle, because when you start counting up all the dollars and cents of what things are going to cost, you realize that those $48,000 a year jobs that people used to think of as being a good job that you could have a nice middle class life in are just unbelievably worthless. If you think that you have, let's say, your rent is $1,400 a month. It's a pretty average rent payment for a nice, smaller apartment. $1,400 a month over 12 months? I mean, you're talking $16,200 a year. That's a huge chunk of that $48,000 that, by the way, you're only taking home 40,000 of if you're lucky. I mean, you're talking a lot of your money. Almost half of your money is going to your rent at that point. Well, then food is $500 or $600 a month if you're not super good at budgeting. And then that's it's just so much of your money is gone. This kid sounds upset here, and I think he's doing it because I think he is upset because it's just so hard to live sometimes. And for someone like me, I think I say that and I laugh, and a lot of people think that I know something they don't, but I'm just crazy. It makes me giggle how bad everything has gotten, because everything was always hard for me. I was a kid who had depression and had issues, and I life was always very hard, and everyone else always said all these things to me about how I was just making excuses or doing this and that or whatever. And now those same people are also struggling really hard, and I feel bad because I don't want anyone to go through what I did, but I've been dealing with struggling for so long now that it's just part of my life, and I'm like, I feel like I've cracked or something, but it's just, man, it's bad, dude. It's really bad. And I've been telling people forever.
Because they're not going to be able to afford it otherwise. So people are very focused on money. And I'm sure anyone from the UK will kind of understand that if you live in a big city. There are people doing supremely well, Ferraris and whatever, driving around the streets.
Totally.
But that's not everyone. And
No.
even the people who do that, how much work do they have to do to get to that?
This is what I try to explain to people all the time, is that the existence of the 1% does not negate the struggles of the 99%. And the further you go down that percent, down to the 30% and the 20%, and the people who are at the bottom are struggling so much. And as that percentage of people who are struggling that much grows and grows and grows, it doesn't matter how many Ferraris exist in America. If there is only a few people who have them, and you have to think that for every celebrity, every rich person, every athlete that you can think of, there are thousands of people who are doing really poorly. And that's a problem.
That point. I don't mind work. I see myself as a hard-working person.
Me too.
But when I'm working for something I believe in the sense that, I've been struggling with my university.
I've believed in my vision for my life for so long that I have convinced myself that every single thing that I've ever had to work hard at gets me to where I'm going to. And so I don't think that I have that issue that I have to believe in it. Although I believe that I'm on a pathway that I am unable to variate from, and that no matter what I do, it's leading towards whatever that thing is that I don't know what it is. And so I just keep doing the things that I need to and the things that I want to, and I give them everything that I have.
The assignments because I don't care about them, but I will work very hard in my business. Now,
I think that's a young person thought. School has opened my brain up in so many ways, and I am so appreciative of it. Does it suck sometimes? Is it boring sometimes? Totally. But educating myself has been better for me than anything else I have ever done, hands down. There has been nothing else that has done better for me than learning more. And school is such a distilled and concentrated method of learning. Now, I know for a lot of people, they are in degree programs that are just bullshit, and it's not that way. But for me, school is just so unbelievably good for pouring information into this little peanut of a brain I've got.
as someone who runs a business, and obviously pays tax on that and everything to do with that, and as someone who lives in the UK, the cost of things is so high now. I think the trend in migration may be about to change, because I've seen this myself, and I'm even thinking about it. For the costs I could be living.
Who was the comedian that said by the time they get finished building the wall across the border of America and Mexico, we're going to be the ones going over that wall?
In the UK, with an apartment and a car and a house, well, a house being an apartment, and food costs and cost of fun that I want to have, which is not unreasonable, I could have a much cheaper life in somewhere like Spain. I could have a much cheaper life in somewhere like South America. I could have
Those places don't have air conditioning a lot of times, though. That's what you realize really quickly, is that the level of comfort that we have in America is extremely high. There's a thing in Germany where people will just be absolutely sweating like crazy, and they're just like, it's fine. Everything's fine. And I've never had to deal with that. I can't imagine being in a house that's just extremely hot.
much cheaper life in somewhere like Indonesia or the Philippines or Thailand. And of course,
He wants those lady boys, dude.
so I'm sat in the glorious English sunshine in the brilliant woods. But with that being said, there becomes a point where it's like, for skilled people like myself, you've worked very hard. You've got a degree. You're looking to get a job. You run a business. You're doing as much as you can. But you're paying a fortune in tax.
Now, I'm not someone who likes to be directly judgmental. There's an element of ego in what he just said. A skilled person like me, I learned a long time ago that you think that you're here and the success barrier is here. And what you realize is that success barrier is off the charts far away from you. If you do enough things and you're honest enough with yourself, you realize that you probably don't have the talent that you think you do. And that there's a lot of hard work between you and where you want to go. And it does suck to be here, right? It does suck to be someone who has already put in a ton of hard work, and probably 50 years ago, I would have been able to have a really, really good job and a pretty cushy life, all things considered. But there are people who are so much better than me at everything. I'm a musician, and every musician who is on the radio is better than me by a million miles. And that's a thing that is hard for me to admit because I have ego and I want to feel like I'm the big dick in the room, but I'm just not. And that doesn't mean that I'm worthless, but it does. We live in a world where your reward is proportionate to the curve that everyone is being graded on. And those people at the top are fucking up the curve, dude. You ever been in a class where someone keeps getting hundreds and everyone else is getting 80s and you just keep getting dunked on because this dude won't get a lower grade, and if he would just get an 80, everyone would get 100s? But it's the way that the world works right now. And unfortunately, that's just what it is. I mean, kid's got 1.8 thousand subscribers. I don't know if he's a YouTuber. I don't know if that's his business, but man, the skilled people like myself, listen, man, we're just some guys, dude.
You're paying a fortune in living costs, and you're not getting very much value for what you pay for. I'm not necessarily saying that it's something that I am going to do, but I am seeing this trend a lot across the board.
Nothing to this guy, by the way. I have these moments too where I just am super disheartened, and he feels really disheartened here. And also, people who are at all skill levels should be able to have a comfortable life. I believe in that 100%. I don't know how possible it is, but I believe in it. That's
I've
true.
seen it with my own family members. I've seen it with friends, and I've seen it with people and stories that I've heard of. People who start off maybe living in the UK. They say, right, the weather in the UK is not great a lot of the time. The UK has got a lot of problems. The economy is not doing too well at the minute, and a lot of other things that we could talk about. But I'm not going to go on a negative rant about the UK.
I'm glad that other countries. I'm not glad, but there's a sense of camaraderie in the fact that other countries are having a hard time right now.
And then they think,
a lot of us,
I've trained
countries
to do
that
this.
people
I'm
think
a
of as
legal
being very
professional.
popular.
I'm a business graduate. And take me, for example. If I was to get a graduate job here in the UK...
We have a joke about business graduates. We have a joke about business majors. And this isn't... we have a joke about business majors in the STEM field that whenever a business major comes in, their resume is written in crayon.
My pay might be about 24,000 maximum for my first year. Maybe 25 if I'm really lucky.
Yeah, dude.
In the US...
No, they want you to start off super low and then you have to work your way, 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 way up. This is that thing. You think you've put in all this work. You think that you have done something impossible. And yes, you have differentiated yourself from 90% of people, but in that 10%, there is so much variation in how good and how skilled and how much knowledge people have. And if you've worked in any field long enough, you know that there are just people who are way better than you at that. I mean, it is astounding how good some people just are at things. I have a friend named Cozy who just is such a good programmer, and he's so driven to program that there's no way that I'll ever catch up to him. He will always be out in front of me.
Yes. Even though the jobs may be equally scarce, I've not researched it too much. For the similar sort of job, I could be getting upwards of 60 to 90,000 USD, which might be a little bit less in pounds, but obviously significantly more, even double, or even triple in GBP, pounds.
Brother, it's so hard to get a job here. The job market is really, really bad. Those jobs aren't real. People aren't actually hiring for them. They have stacks of resumes that are hundreds and hundreds tall.
It's more than double. So when you think about it like that, whether it's moving to a richer country or a country that pays better, again, I've seen a lot of doctors and nurses and medical professionals move to places like the US and Australia.
Well, people move to the US because we have privatized healthcare. That's why doctors move here. because they can get rich here because they take advantage of people. That's the reason that you have a private practice doctor here and you can do pretty well for
Yeah,
yourself.
citing better
And school in the UK is free, right? So,
weather conditions, cheaper costs of living, and also better pay. Or whether it's the other sort of people, which I've seen a lot in my friendship group as well, people who, quite frankly, never really cared about a job or a career. They found some sort of a way to make maybe £300, £400, £600 a month online,
yeah.
and that's enough for them to live in Indonesia, or it's enough for them to live in Thailand, and they do things that way. Which way's right doesn't matter. But I feel like in places like the UK at the minute, and a lot of places around the world, we are potentially running into a talent shortage. Because again, people are, of course...
Well, this is another thing. Talented people know what they're worth, and they don't work for less than they're worth. And talented people can figure out ways to get by without having to do things they don't want to do. And so you will see a decreasing quality as long as you're not paying what the job is actually worth. And that's just the truth. If you're paying $9 an hour and you work for 8 hours, and you think at the end of that 8 hours you've made $71, $71. If you take the average rent in America, which is $1,400 right now, and you divide that by 30, which let's just do that right now. $46. Now you have to add a little bit extra to that because you only work 5 days a week. Remember? So you're talking $60-ish every single day from $71, which by the way, you're not even getting $71, you're getting like $58 because of taxes. You can't even pay for your rent with that. So you're going to get people who don't have a rent payment to work those jobs, or they're living with a whole bunch of people or whatever. You're getting people who are less established, and less established people are also less, not capable. They're all very capable. But today I was in a grocery store and there was a kid bagging groceries, and he's probably 18, 19 years old bagging groceries. And he's just so slow, just has no desire to keep this line moving. He's the pinch point, and he's not, even if he was being paid $15 an hour, he would probably still be like moving at this pace because he just doesn't have any desire. He doesn't think about it as being important to keep this line moving. He doesn't understand the efficiencies or whatever. But if you paid $15 an hour, you might be able to pull in somebody who does understand all of those things. And so then you get this quality increase in the way things are made. And that talent shortage isn't because people are all moving to other countries. The people who are moving to other countries are the same thing as those celebrities that you see. You think it's everybody, but it's a few people. The talent shortage is because people just aren't going to work, dude. They're just not. They're not going to work for low wages. If you want good people, you have to pay good people money.
Migrating to the UK for the massive benefits they can have here. It's a great place. It's a very good place for you to make something of yourself. But with that being said,
I would work 80 hours a week at a job that I really cared about and paid me good money every single week, and I would just give it everything that I had.
Said, for the skilled people that live here, know about the UK's benefits and drawbacks, they may start to feel like, okay, I pay so much into the system, I don't get very much back relatively, and I can just have a cheaper life elsewhere, or a more expensive life, but a better paying life, so it kind of works out to be a bit better off. And I feel like that, if that continues, that trend, we could be seeing a potential talent shortage. Because I want to work hard,
Yeah,
I
me
try,
too.
I want to work hard, it's something I want to do.
I love working hard. I love throwing myself into something.
No one wants to work
really
hard
good.
for a company unless it's theirs. You don't work for a business that owes you nothing because they know that they owe you nothing. They'll sack you on the spot. You know, they don't mind getting rid of employees, and they don't mind what your career ambitions are, what your life goals are. So people don't want to work for these companies that aren't paying. They'll move elsewhere. They'll live a more.
And I know that you want it to be a different way. I know that you want to say like, oh, just suck it up and blah blah blah, do all this. Tough, dude. Tough. I don't fall to that rhetoric. I do what I want to do, and I can be successful doing what I want to do. But you're going to run into issues if you push everyone out who isn't on drugs and isn't sitting around doing nothing but wasting all of their time and just scrolling TikTok constantly, and just sits on their phone at work, and someone walks up to the counter and they're just, and then you and they, oh yeah man, what do you want? Like, dude, that's what you get. You're running everyone else out of it. And I think the problem is systemic. I'm not saying that these companies just need to fork over more money. I don't know if they have money to fork over, but I mean, man, there's an issue that's going on.
Simple life or a more chilled life for less money. I feel like that could be a stage that we're coming into, because I've seen a lot.
I pulled up to a drive-through the other day, and the person said, "What do you want?" What do you want? And then I got up to the window, and the manager runs up and goes, "We don't have that baked potato." And I was just like, "Dang, dude. All right, I guess I'll just leave." Do you have a solution? Do you have a time frame for what happened? Any kind of explanation or communication? Or like, it's so bizarre what's going on in America right now.
A lot of people talking about this, both online, in real life, in my friendship groups, in my circles that I associate with and talk to. I'm seeing this trend more and more. People just saying it makes a lot more sense for me to learn, whether it's, making YouTube videos or drop shipping items or something, maybe doing online classes.
Don't drop ship. This kid watches Andrew Tate.
It makes more sense to do this.
He only feels that way because he's being sold a lie. That's something. Now, whether or not he's somebody who will actually be successful at it is irrelevant. Statistically, he will not be successful at it. But the promises of grandeur are so alluring to people, especially young people, that these scam artists get hooks in them and tell them all of these lies and end up wasting their time, so that they give these scam artists money to buy their courses that teach them how to drop ship. But dude, I don't know how to explain to people in any simpler terms than, if everybody wants to do something, there is only so much of a market share that can be had. This is Business 101. If everybody in my state tries to start a soap business, my soap business probably will not succeed. So be careful with fields that everybody wants to be in.
Get paid half as much, but live twice as rich in a different part of the world. And with the amount I'm hearing about this and seeing this, maybe it's because I've got myself into a loop of both talking about it and seeing it online.
Yeah.
But with the amount I'm seeing this, clever people are not going to work for nothing. Like,
That is
imagine
true.
you've just graduated as a doctor, maybe 10, 15 years of study, and you're going to work for 40 grand. They're not going to do it.
Insane.
And they don't do it, and they won't do it. Many people don't do it. Many people won't do it. Why would...
I guess that makes sense, though. The job of doctor isn't any less hard in the UK, but without privatized healthcare, there isn't big payouts for them. But what you hope is that people just have a desire to be good, I guess. I don't know. That is a scary thing to think about.
Would you? I wouldn't do it. 15 years of investment for, double minimum wage? No. We can go get 300 grand to do it in the US. That's what's going to happen, I think. And that's what's already happening here.
120.
Sadly.
Unless you're private practice.
Anyway, that's it for this one. It's a rather
80,
short video, but I just wanted to cover
120.
this topic because it's been something that's interested me for some time. And on this channel, I've made a series of different styles of videos, whether it's talking about what I do in my business.
Good for this kid. He I think he's younger. And there's a lot of this sort of mentality floating around, and a lot of people are being pulled into this. The amount of people who I've seen make posts saying, "Oh, I make X amount of dollars in one window washing job, and it's that easy," and blah blah blah, the stuff, bro. Around here, go and ask door to door who will pay you $400 to wash the windows on their house. Nobody. Nobody has that money around here. They are not going to pay you to do it. You have to understand that there is a market for certain things in certain places, and that market gets satisfied, and then people, there is no one size fits all solution, and people will learn that either the easy way or the hard way, by hearing me say it, or by going out there and wasting years of your life trying to do something that straight up doesn't work. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is, unless you're really honest with yourself and you know that you've put in unbelievable amounts of work for it. Then you probably deserve it.